Gopi Jana Ballava Giribaradhare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giribaradhare. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachare. Yamunatira Vanachare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giribaradhare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giribaradhare. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachare. Yamunatira Vanachare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Vishnuvad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Status Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today, devotees, as I understand, as I heard, we're reading from verse 20. Is that right? From verse 20? Anyone know? 20, is it? From 20? Okay. 20 till 30. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now this thing down here, is it picking up? Oh, you are. It's picking up, okay. All right. Right, yes, so devotees, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 10, Dhruva Maharaj's fight with the Yakshas, beginning with verse 20, and we're actually reading on to verse 30, which has a purport, the other verses don't, so I'll just read these, the first, whatever it is, 10 or so verses, and then we'll do verse 30 together. Hata Vashishta Itare Ranajirad Rakshogana Kshatriya Varya Sayakai Prayo Vivrikna Vayava Vidud Ravur Mrigendra Vikridata Utapa Iva. The remaining yakshas who somehow or other were not killed had their limbs cut to pieces by the arrows of the great warrior Dhruva Maharaj. Thus they began to flee, just as elephants flee when defeated by a lion. 21. Apashamana sa tadat tatayanam Mahamrade Kanchana Manavotama Purim Didrikshan Apinavishadvisham Namayanam Veda Chikershitam Jana. Dhruva Maharaj, the best of human beings, observed that in that great battlefield, not one of the opposing soldiers was left standing with proper weapons. He then desired to see the city of Alakapuri, but he thought to himself, no one knows the plans of the mystic yakshas. 22. Itibruvams chitra rataswasaratim yatapare sham pratiyoga shankita shushrava shabdam jaladeri veritam nabasvato dikshu rajon vadrishyata. In the meantime, while Dhruva Maharaj, doubtful of his mystic enemies, was talking with his charioteer, they heard a tremendous sound, as if the whole ocean was there, and they found that from the sky a great dust storm was coming over them from all directions. Verse 23. Shanena chaditam vyoma ganani kena sarvata vispurat tadita dikshu trasayat stanayitduna. Within a moment, the whole sky was overcast with dense clouds, and severe thundering was heard. There was glittering electric lightning and severe rainfall. Verse 24. Vavrishurudi raugasrik puyavin mutramedasa nipetur gaganad asya kabandan yagratonaga. My dear faultless Vidura, in that rainfall there was blood, mucus, pus, stool, urine, and marrow falling heavily before Dhruva Maharaj, and there were trunks of bodies falling from the sky. Verse 25. Tatake drishyata girir nipetu sarvato drisham gada pariga nistrimsha musala shashma varshina. Next, a great mountain was visible in the sky, and from all directions hailstones fell, along with lances, clubs, swords, iron bludgeons, and great pieces of stone. 26. Ahayo shani nishvasa vamantognim rushakshibi abhyadavan gaja mata simha vyagras chayuta shah. Dhruva Maharaj also saw many big serpents with angry eyes, vomiting forth fire and coming to devour him, along with groups of mad elephants, lions, and tigers. 27. Samudra urmabir bhima plavayan sarvato bhuvam asasada maharada kalpanta eva bishana. Then, as if it were the time of the dissolution of the whole world, the fierce sea, with foaming waves and great roaring sounds, came forward before him. Verse 28. Evam vidan yanekani trasanan yamanas vinam sasrijus tigma gataya asurya mayaya sura. The demon yakshas are by nature very heinous, and by their demoniac power of illusion they can create many strange phenomena to frighten one who is less intelligent. Okay, and we carry on. Heinous basically means like very bad, like criminal, very criminally bad sort of idea, something like that. 29. Dhruve prayuktam asurais tam mayam ati dustaram nisham yatasya munaya sham ashamsan samagata. When the great sages heard that Dhruva Maharaj was overpowered by the illusory mystic tricks of the demons, they immediately assembled to offer him auspicious encouragement. Verse 30 we will do responsively. Munaya ucho Otanapada Bhagavams Tava Sharngadanva Deva Shinoto Avanatarti Haro Vipakshan Yan Namadeyam Abhidaya Nishamya Chadha Loko Anjasa Tarati Dustaram Anga Mrityum. Munaya ucho Autanapada Bhagavans Tava Shangadanva Devashinot Vavanatarti Harovipakshan Yanamadeyam Abhidaya Nishamya Chada Lokon Jasatarati Dustaramanga Mrityum. Munaya Ucho Autanapada Bhagavams Tava Shangadanva Devashinot Vavanatarti Harovipakshan Yanamadeyam Abhidaya Nishamya Chadha Lokon Jasatarati Dustaramanga Mrityum. Munaya Ucho Autanapada Bhagavams Tava Shangadanva Devashinot Vavanatarti Harovipakshan Yanamadeyam Abhidaya Nishamya Chadha Lokon Jasatarati Dustaramanga Mrityum. Ladies, Devashinot Pavanatarti Haro Vishasha Yanamadeya Hidaya Misham Yachada Munaya Ucho, the sages said, Utanapada, O son of King Utanapada, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Tava, your Sharangadanva, one who bears the bow called Sharanga. Deva, the Lord, Shinoto, may he kill Avanata, of the surrendered soul, Arti, the distresses, Hara, who removes, Vipakshan, enemies, Yat, whose, Namadeyam, holy name, Abadhaya, uttering, Nishamya, hearing, Cha, also, Ada, immediately, Loka, persons, Anjasa, fully, Tadati, overcome, Dustaram, insurmountable, Anga, O Dhruva, Mrityom, death. Translation. All the sages said, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. All the sages said, Dear Dhruva, O son of King Uttanapad, may the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Shangadanva, who relieves the distresses of his devotees, kill all your threatening enemies. The holy name of the Lord is as powerful as the Lord himself. Therefore, simply by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord, many men can be fully protected from fierce death without difficulty. Thus, a devotee is saved. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The great rishis approached Dhruva Maharaj at a time when his mind was very perplexed due to the magical feats exhibited by the yakshas. A devotee is always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By his inspiration only, the sages came to encourage Dhruva Maharaj and assure him that there was no danger because he was a soul fully surrendered to the Supreme Lord. By the grace of the Lord, if a devotee at the time of death can simply chant his holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Simply by chanting this Maha Mantra, he immediately surpasses the great ocean of the material sky and enters the spiritual sky. He never has to come back for repetition of birth and death. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can surpass the ocean of death. So Dhruva Maharaj was certainly able to surpass the illusory magical feats of the yakshas, which for the time being disturbed his mind. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Dhruva Maharaj's Fight with the Yakshas. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastya Chadeshatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchkalpatarubhyas cha kripa sindubhya eva cha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Munaya uchu. Autanupada bhagavams tavashanga danva. Devashinot vavanatati haro vipaksham. Yanamadeyam abhidhaya vishnisham yachadha lokon jasa tarati dustaram anga mrityum. Translation: all the sages said, Dear Dhruva, O son of King Uttanapad, may the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Sharangadanva, who relieves the distresses of his devotees, kill all your threatening enemies. The holy name of the Lord is as powerful as the Lord himself. Therefore, simply by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord, many men can be fully protected from fierce death without difficulty. Thus, a devotee is saved. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastya Chadeshatarane. Yes, so this is interesting. This is very interesting. That the yakshas are kind of very special people. They are referred to here as demons in one of the verses we read through. We had read through about 10 or 11 verses. Yeah, the previous verse 29. When the great sages heard that Dhruva Maharaj was overpowered by the illusory mystic tricks of the demons, they immediately assembled to offer him auspicious encouragement. So the yakshas, they're referred to there as demons, but actually they are residents of the higher planets. And certainly Kuvera, who is the king of the yakshas, is a demigod. In fact, he is the treasurer of the demigods. That's how Prabhupada refers to him, the treasurer of the demigods. And as such, he's extremely wealthy, really extremely wealthy. And Kuvera is a close associate of Lord Shiva. That's there in their discussion earlier on of the passing away of Sati. Yes, where Lord Shiva, of course, is very deeply involved in the whole situation, and therefore it's mentioned there, and in other places too, how Lord Shiva, how Kuvera, they're connected, they have a close connection. So anyway, here, you know the story, that one yaksha killed the brother of Dhruva, and Dhruva became overwhelmed with anger and desire to, well, avenge, basically. And so it's all going on here. It's all going on here. And the last few verses out of these 10 or 11 or whatever it is, the yakshas, they have great mystical powers, so they have, let's just have a look again at what they've done, because it is truly dramatic. Let's see. So, verse 22, a great dust storm appears, apparently out of nowhere, and Dhruva has been discussing things with his charioteer, and suddenly they're just covered with this dust storm. And then it says, then within a moment, just like that, the whole sky was overcast with dense clouds, and severe thundering was heard. There was lightning and severe rainfall. And then, in the rainfall, there was blood, mucus, pus, stool, urine, and marrow falling heavily before Dhruva Maharaj, and there were trunks of bodies, headless bodies, falling from the sky. Must have been quite an experience for Dhruva Maharaj. Actually, when demons are born, very like extreme materialists, extremely aggressive materialists, and extremely powerful materialists, then inauspicious things happen. And sometimes blood falls from the sky like rain. And there's a little story I was told many years ago, which supposedly, or anyway, they said, was coming from Srila Prabhupada, that on a morning walk, one devotee said to Srila Prabhupada that he had read about when demons are born, that blood may come from the sky and things like this. And he said that Srila Srila Prabhupada that now many demons are being born. So maybe blood will come from the sky? And Prabhupada's answer, we were told, was, oh, you are expecting? So, but anyway, who knows? Who knows? Because Kali Yuga has just begun. It's just begun. Only 5,000 years out of 432,000. That's really a long time by our standards. And things are going to get worse. So this was all a display of the mystical powers of the yakshas. Then a mountain appeared in the sky. Then hailstones were falling. Then weapons were falling. Lances, clubs, swords, and iron bludgeons, and great pieces of stone. Then many big serpents, groups of mad elephants, lions, and tigers. And it was just like the time of the dissolution of the whole world. Then the sea apparently just appeared there with great waves and amazing. But then in verse 28, it's described, the demon yakshas are by nature very heinous, very bad, sort of criminally bad. And by their demoniac power of illusion, they can create strange phenomena to frighten one who's less intelligent. So the implication is, at least the implication is, because it's illusion. It's illusion. So it would appear that these are just sort of figments of the imagination, or they're not actually there. Am I right? Anyway, Hare Krishna. But at the very least, let us not get into that, but at the very least, and this is what Prabhupada focuses on in the purport, is that Dhruva Maharaj, the previous verse 29 says, Dhruva Maharaj was overpowered by the illusory mystic tricks of the demons. So these great sages assembled to offer him encouragement. That's nice, isn't it? In Krishna consciousness, from time to time, everyone needs some encouragement. Would you say? I think so. Everyone can do better, at least sometimes, maybe a lot of the time, with encouragement. Of course, we don't want cheap flattery, just people being patronizing and saying, oh, you're so great, you're so wonderful, when you know very well that you're not. And even particularly at this particular point in time, you're messing things up, actually. But they say, oh, you're great. So flattery, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, he who flatters me is my enemy, and he who criticizes me is my friend. It's Anyway, that's what he says. It's one thing he says. So the sages are speaking, and they are encouraging Dhruva that don't become too affected by these amazing, incredible displays But what to do? What to do? Namadeyam abidhaya nishamya. That just simply chant and hear the holy name of the Lord. Well, that's what they're saying, that if a person simply chants and hears the holy name of the Lord, then they'll be fully protected. What to speak of from, because this is the point, what to speak of being protected from some, particularly in this case, some illusory mystical display, which it would appear is not really as dangerous as it looks like. But even if there's great danger, then if a devotee simply chants and hears the holy names, and we note Srila Prabhupada, he presented the whole Maha Mantra in the purport, then a devotee, what to speak of being saved from some mystical display, but the devotee will be saved from death. So it would appear, well, at least they're saying that, and it would appear that Dhruva Maharaj, he might then start chanting the holy names, but it appears he doesn't exactly. He just gets more fired up to fight. But anyway, that point is there. That is the point of the sages. That is the point of the sages. That really, there's no danger. You're not really in danger because you're a soul fully surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, even if it was the time of death for Dhruva, which it was not actually, although sooner or later Dhruva leaves his body, later he leaves his body, but the encouragement is, or includes, that even if the time of death has actually come for you, but still there's no danger, there's nothing to fear, because if simply you namadeyam abidhaya nishamya cha, if you simply chant and hear the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you'll be delivered from death. Death may come, you will chant, and then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by the grace of the Lord, the devotee, Prabhupada says, immediately surpasses the great ocean of the material sky and enters the spiritual sky, and he never has to come back for repetition of birth and death. I read actually once, some years ago, means probably more than 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago or something like that, I was doing research about what's the likelihood, possibility, or could it happen or not, of someone coming back to the material world after having gone back to the spiritual world. And I came across a spoken statement of Srila Prabhupada. I forget if it was a class, I think it was a conversation of some sort, and someone was asking Prabhupada about that. Can people come back? Is it possible to come back here to Chatsworth and just, back to this material world? And Srila Prabhupada said, so far, no one has returned. Although there's at least one place, and there may well be more, where Prabhupada does not completely discount the possibility that if someone really decided that they really wanted, they just had to come back, that they couldn't. They could. It's not like absolutely out of the question if someone just insists on it. But it's so extremely unlikely that Krishna says on at least a couple of occasions in Bhagavad Gita that one does not. And Srila Prabhupada said there, so far no one has come back. So, and that's on the basis of the chanting. As it happens, anyway, you'll read through the next chapter, the whole battle continues actually into the early part of the next chapter, and then Swayambhuva Manu comes, the grandfather of Dhruva, and convinces him to stop, and anyway, you'll see what happens. But it appears, at least from the description in the early parts of the next chapter, that Dhruva doesn't really take this advice and chant and really get into chanting, although that appears to be what the sages are emphasizing. And of course, we all know very well that the chanting is the main thing. Even when it's not Kali Yuga, when it's Kali Yuga, there's nothing else which at least has that total potency to save you completely from material life. There are many other good Krishna conscious activities, but without the chanting, none of them have the potency to actually completely save you. Yes. So even in other yugas, in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, the chanting is the main thing, or the most effective thing. Although people, because of their tendencies in the other yugas, they're more inclined to do other things. But we see Narada Muni in some places in meetings with people, and it's not Kali Yuga, it's some other yuga, but he tells them, chant and hear. At least the glories of the Lord as like the central point of his preaching to them. So yes, the chanting's so amazing. Here, I want to read it's a famous verse actually, and it is spoken by Devahuti to Kapila, to Lord Kapila, and that means it's Satya Yuga, and indeed it is relatively early Satya Yuga, because Devahuti, daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, is daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, is one of the granddaughters of Lord Brahma. Means it's really the beginning of Satya Yuga. So she says, Yan Namadeya, the same word, Yan Namadeya Shravananu Kirtanad, Yat Pravanad Yat Smaranad Api Kvachit, Swadopi Sadya Savanaya Kalpate, Kuta Punaste Bhagavan Nudarshanat. to say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face, which was the position of Kardama, her husband. It was the position of Kardama. He had met the Lord face to face. That when you back in chapter 8, when that happens, 7 and 8, it's really emphasized a number of times how he saw the Lord face to face. To say nothing of such people who see the Lord face to face, even a person born in a family of dog eaters immediately becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. So we can see. And there's a number of other places where in other yugas in Srimad Bhagavatam, the chanting of the holy names, or at least the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is given great emphasis. And of course, what to speak of Kali Yuga. So here, again, it's Satya Yuga again. It's Satya Yuga. And Dhruva is being advised, being encouraged. And the focal point of the encouragement basically is that the Lord, don't worry, the Lord will protect you, because if you just chant his names, you go back to Godhead. You're completely saved from this material world. So yes, it's really very wonderful, actually, the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is Dhruva. Of course, we know that some years before, when he was a small boy, then he went, anyway, you all know the story. He got so extremely disturbed and wanted to teach his father and stepmother a lesson, get a big kingdom, and just show them that he's to be taken seriously. But Narada Muni, when he instructed him how he could become successful in that and in Krishna consciousness also, Narada Muni instructed him to chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, which is basically means it's just another way of chanting the holy name of the Lord. Yes. So therefore, Dhruva, if he had simply chanted the holy name of the Lord, he would certainly be able to surpass the illusory magical feats of the yakshas, which for the time being disturbed his mind. Hare Krishna. Any comment or question? Jai Sachinandan Prabhu. Just hold on a few seconds.
Hare Krishna. The potency of the holy name, Namadeyam, quoted from that verse. I was thinking of the story of pastime of Ajamil. I don't know which yuga that was in.
Who is that?
Ajamil.
Oh, Ajamil. Yeah, it doesn't really say.
Yeah, and He
got
was chanting
saved.
not in a pure way, but
Oh, yeah.
Nama Bas, but he got reprieved from it.
Yes, indeed. Well, there's a number of cases. Yeah, there's a number of cases. But yeah, Ajamil is a classic case. It doesn't say, I've thought about that. It doesn't say what yuga it is, because in a sense, it doesn't really matter. That's sort of an underlying point. It doesn't really matter so much, because whatever yuga it is, the best thing, if you get into trouble, or just, even if you don't get into trouble, just in life, the best thing is chant the holy names. And he's such an example because he was so sinful, and somehow more or less just by accident he ended up chanting. And even by accident, but his chanting wasn't very good, but he got saved. At least he got liberated that time, and then the experience was so dramatic that, because he had been a good young man in his early days, so he just pulled himself together and became a devotee again, and went to Haridwar and associated with devotees, became one of the devotees there, and then went back to Godhead. Yeah. Initially, that chanting, because it was Nama Bas, it wasn't, like proper chanting, you could say, or it certainly wasn't like really pure chanting in the real sense, from the heart and in great sincerity. So what he got was liberation. He got saved from death. But then he became a devotee, he went back to Godhead. Anyway, thank you.
But the other point you made about the devotee coming back to the material world, what about the spiritual master? Sometimes at the time of initiation, you understand that he makes the pact that he has to, there's a kind of contract.
Yeah.
That he will promise to take the disciple back home. And what happens if the disciple doesn't make it somehow?
That's true. Yeah. That's there. Of course, it's not like falling back. That was the point. That falling, Krishna says a few times, basically that no one falls down again into materialistic life. But yeah, it may happen that the spiritual master may return, even like in a physical sense, take birth again. He also may not, like in the story of Bilvamangal, the spiritual master, what was his name? Anyway, whatever his name was. Somagiri. Maybe it was. Anyway, the spiritual master, at least with Bilvamangal, it doesn't say he physically came back, but he spoke through Chintamani. Yeah, he actually spoke through her. So there are different ways it can happen, but it also can involve the spiritual master actually returning in the physical sense, but then it's different. Yeah. And I read some years ago, I read the book of Burijan Prabhu, My Glorious Master, I think it is it? Yeah. Very nice. And he says there that he was in Japan with Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada gave a class about how a pure devotee, really very advanced devotee, doesn't mind taking birth again, ready to. If that's the desire of the Lord, he'll do it. to help spread Krishna consciousness. And Burijan describes there how he got very inspired by that class, and just like, as I recall, immediately after, he said to Prabhupada, "Yes, Prabhupada, I'm ready to come back and help your movement." And Srila Prabhupada gave him a grave look and said, "Don't force your spiritual master to take birth again to save you." So we shouldn't overestimate ourselves. Being conditioned souls, one of our most prominent sort of attributes or features of character is just a great ability to overestimate ourselves. Oh, Krishna, yeah. It's a hangover from material life. Anyway, thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, Haribol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.